and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. If this is the first video you've seen from me, hello, I'm Laura and this is the tips and tricks of a personal statement. I know a lot of you are thinking about applying to university, well, applying this year for next year and so on. And I thought this might be useful. Tips and tricks of a personal statement, what to include, what actually is a personal statement, how to write it, when to start writing it, and yeah. So if this is your first time here, please subscribe down below, and without further ado, let's get straight into this video. So question 1, what actually is a personal statement? Why do you need one? Why do I need one to apply to university? Essentially, a personal statement is a showcase all about you. Your universities will see your grades, they'll see your A-level results, and they'll also see this personal statement and any references that you have had alongside that. So essentially, your personal statement is the perfect opportunity to show your universities who you are, what you're about, what you enjoy, and why they should essentially let you into their university. A personal statement is 4,000 characters long, including spaces, or 47 lines, whichever you reach first, whether it's 4,000 characters or 47 lines of text, that is how long your personal statement should be. Another thing to note when you're writing your personal statement is that the same personal statement, so the same 4,000 characters or 47 lines, goes to each and every one of your universities. I'll touch on this again later, but therefore don't mention a specific university in your personal statement that you're like, oh yes, I've applied to Oxford, therefore I want to go to Oxford. No, it's going to go to Oxford and it's going to go to Birmingham and it's going to go to Nottingham. So if the other universities see it and say, oh okay, they just want to go to Oxford, what's the point in us giving them a place? So be a bit more broad. I would like to attend this university because of this. I would love the opportunity to study at your university because of XYZ. We'll get onto that a little bit later. Another quick tip before we even start to write it, do not lie about anything in your personal statement. Yes, people say, oh, you can glorify it a little bit because they actually have no idea about you. But if you get an interview or your course requires an interview, they can ask you anything about anything in your personal statement and they'll assume that you know what you're talking about. So even if that's a book you've read or an experience that you kind of wanted to do but haven't quite done yet, and you've said, oh yes, I've already done this and I've learnt this from it, they can pull you up on that and say, okay, how did you learn this? Where did this come from? And if you're stumped, they're gonna know that you're lying. And it's not a very good character trait and it's not what universities look for. They want honest, integral people. They don't want liars in their university, and I think that goes for the same. Like, just don't lie on your personal statement, there's no point. You definitely have things about you that your university will want, so you don't need to lie about it. So what do you write about? What to include in your personal statement? You need to look at the courses that you're specifically applying to. See what makes you want to study them, why you're choosing that course over a different one, so why you're choosing BA Geography rather than BSc Geography. So the human side of it rather than the physical side of it. And if you're applying to all BA subjects, feel free to include that in your personal statement. It's a bit more difficult if you're applying for slightly different courses, so if you're applying for geography at one university and international relations at another, it is more difficult, but it is still possible to apply to a variety of different courses as long as you're not specific. So you want things in your personal statement that can be applied to every single one of your courses and every single one of your universities. Don't be so specific that they will write you off because of that. Tell them why you're applying, tell them what your ambitions are with this degree, tell them where you're hoping to end up as a result of your degree. If you don't know, don't say it, but if you have an idea of, oh, I really want to teach at the end of this, tell them that. They like ambition, they like drive, because so many people go to university at the moment, especially in comparison to 30 years ago. More people are going to university than ever before. Are you just going to university because it's the normal thing to do, or are you going to university to pursue that career? Obviously, I'm not a university and I can't be speaking from what they know or what they think, but generally what I was told is if you have an ambition and you have a drive to go and study that subject for a specific reason, it's a good sign, it's a good thing. So write that down, why not? You also need to tell your university what makes you suitable for university, what makes you suitable for that course. What have you done in the past that has enabled you to get to this point? they're obviously going to see your predicted grades when you apply to university, so you don't quite need to talk about, oh, I predicted this, because they can see that anyway. But if you have any extracurricular ideas, so if you're applying to sports science, for example, have you been a coach to young people before? Have you gone and worked in schools and taught PE lessons, that kind of thing? Do you have any extracurricular things that you think your university will be looking for? If you can, include that. Also mention any employment that you've had, even if it's not specifically relevant. This is one of the first things to go usually if you haven't got enough characters, but I think it's really important when you're in a job, especially kind of whilst you're at school. It shows that you are able to split your time and manage your time well, which you have to do at university. You can't just spend all your time. Well, you can, but most people at university don't just spend all their time studying. They do social events, they do clubs, they do societies, they go out with their friends, they go drinking, whatever. You need to be able to manage your time well. And if you have evidence of being able to do that before, that's a good thing. Tell them about it. You also learn so many things when you're working, like interpersonal skills, how to deal with the awkward people in a cafe or a restaurant or whatever your job was. You will have learnt something from your job, but tell them about it and tell them why that might be applicable to your life at university. Also tell them about any extra qualifications you've got, whether it's a D.V. qualification or whatever the others are. I can't remember them. Tell them about it, tell them what you learnt from that. They can probably see that. I'm not 100% sure if they can see your D.V. grade, like your D.V. certificate when you're applying if you don't write it in, but it's worth mentioning that yes, I've done this, yes, this is what I learned. And D.V. is not easy. Like, as much as a lot of people might do it and you're like, oh well, are they gonna care? Put it in. It's not easy. It requires perseverance. I didn't even do it. Like, it requires that much perseverance. I was like, nah, I'm done. They're looking for people with perseverance and commitment to stick with things and to carry on. So include that in your personal statement if you've done it, as well as anything else similar that I can't think of off the top of my head. Use evidence. Tell them why you'd be a good student. So for example, I have spent the last 2 years working at WH Smith. I have learned how to communicate well with people. I have learned how to deal with difficult and slightly awkward situations, and then go on to say this would help my university career because I already have the people skills needed to be able to work well in a group of people that I'm not used to, and I'm adaptable in difficult situations. When there is an increased workload and loads of stress, I have dealt with situations in the past, and therefore I am well suited to be able to deal with future situations that might come up as a result of my university degree. For example, that is a very long-winded sentence off the top of my head, but that's kind of the idea that you want. Tell them why your past employment, for example, will benefit them as a university and you as a student. That's what they're looking for. They don't care if you've worked at WH Smith if you don't tell them how you can apply what you've learnt to your university degree or your general life as a university student. Next tip, start early. I cannot stress this enough. Do not leave personal statement writing until the last minute. Start now. First and foremost, write a list. Write a list of everything you have done that you think you might want to include in your personal statement. This will definitely be too long of a list. It's better to have an exhaustive list than not have enough things to talk about. So write those jobs down, write those volunteering opportunities down, write your qualifications down, write literally anything, write it down in a list, and then go back with the list and organise it in order of, I think this is the most important thing that I need to talk about, then this, then this, then this. And then when you're writing your personal statement, if you're running out of characters, you can get rid of the things at the bottom. That's a general way of writing it well and writing it in a semi-structured way. So if you've read a book, that's probably going to go above a random volunteering opportunity at a water sports centre when you were 10, but you kind of get the gist. Again, look over it early because you are going to change it. Your first draft is not your final draft. Write your personal statement, look over it, read it out loud when you're writing it, or once you've written it, read it out loud, change your spelling, change the mistakes, change the grammar, then send it to people. Send it to one person at a time. Do not send it to like 5 people at a time, because you're all going to get different corrections on it and it's just going to be really overwhelming and really confusing. Send it to one person, get their feedback, change that, Send it to another person, get their feedback, change it. Send it to another person, get their feedback, and then change it again. You can do that as many times as you want. I'd recommend like maybe 3 times, 3 drafts. These people can be your parents, your teachers, people from your local church, people already in the profession that you want, that kind of thing. People who are able to know you and know how you write, and they can even mention things that you've probably forgotten that they think might be useful. So yeah, send it to a few people and get their feedback, but do it one at a time, please. It will save you so much stress. Okay, the structure. So there isn't a formal structure of a personal statement. You can write it however you want. However, this is how I would suggest writing it. Introduction, very short, 1 sentence. Please don't put, my dream is to study at your university. It's just not going to work. Everyone has a dream to study at university. Make them want to read it from the start. Don't make it boring from the start. Have that witty one-liner if you've got it. I think I've got my personal statement in front of me, and the first line of mine, I mean, if you copy it, it's just plagiarism, so do as you will. The first sentence of my personal statement was, I'm excited to study this course due to one main reason, I want to know more. It was simple, but I didn't give too much away. I wasn't specific in saying I want to study geography and education, because not all my courses were geography and education. Some were just geography and some were geography and education, for example. So if you kind of get that gist, make it interesting, make them want to read it from the start. I don't think that was the most interesting first liner of a personal statement ever, but it's something. Then in the middle part, this is the bulk of your essay, I guess, of the things that you've done, the studies that you're undertaking, your extra interests, any books you've read, any courses you've been on, any work opportunities, whatever. This is where you talk about it in the bulk, in the middle of your essay. And then I'd suggest at the very end, do a 1-line simple conclusion. Reinforce your commitment to your studies, why you want to study it. I've studied this for this many years, or I've done this extracurricular thing that, for example, I went and volunteered in Iceland for a month during last summer because I wanted to know more about how ice cores were used in geographical study. I have not done this, but it would be a really good example to reinforce what you've been saying of why you're committed to the subject and why you want to do it. Summarise it and be really enthusiastic in your final paragraph. It doesn't have to be long, but leave them well and be like, yes, we want to give this person a place. She wants to do this course. And then again, just reiterate why the skills you've learned in your part-time job or your volunteering opportunity will transfer really well onto your university course. Just summarise your whole body of the essay into your final paragraph and leave them well. This is another tip. I've just thought of it off the top of my head. Don't say, I think this will be useful in university life. Say, this will be useful in university life. Go in and say, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm thinking. I know that this will be useful. If you give them a shadow of doubt, they can have a shadow of doubt about you. I mean, it cuts down your word count, it cuts down your character count anyway, and it sounds more direct. It sounds like you're more passionate about this. And I'd recommend saying things like, I will, I have. This will be useful, rather than I think this will be useful. Can you kind of see the difference? And then finally, when you're done, what should you do? As I've said before, give it to people. Give it to people one at a time. Don't take too much criticism and yeah, don't let it get overwhelming. But there is a point that you need to stop. Once you've given it to 3, 4, 5 people, and there's not much they can change, if they're not coming back with a list of criticisms and they're just like, yeah, this'll do, this is great, believe them. You can overdo your personal statement. You can edit it so many times that it's so different from the first time you wrote it. But yeah, know when to stop. If you have a deadline, if the UCAS deadline is what? I think it was the 15th of October for me. I don't know when it is for you guys. Get it sent off before, why not? Another useful tip. I don't know if this is a true thing, but I remember being told this when I was in year 12 actually. I was told that if you apply to university before the Oxbridge deadline, other universities may think that you have also applied to Oxbridge, which is why you need to do it before that deadline. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, I got all my offers back. I didn't apply to Oxbridge at all. I applied to Durham, which is, I don't even know, I'm not even going to get into a political debate about Durham and Oxbridge, but yeah, I got all my offers back within a month of applying, and I know that's not the same for everyone, but yeah, if you apply before the deadline, there is that possibility that you've applied to Oxbridge, whereas if you don't apply until November, December, they know you've not applied to Oxbridge. So I don't know what that means. Might be worth it if you've got the time. I'd say always submit it early. You don't need the stress, and it might just help you, because later on the 15th of January, on the final deadline, they're going to get so many applications, whereas if yours is one of the first, you're going to be like, okay, we're not bored of people yet. Just a thought. Anyway, I hope that was useful. I hope you found something of use within that video. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe down below. That was me, that was this video. If you did find it useful, please share it with someone, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.